Hey guys, a very personal topic that we're going to go over today. Something that I think everybody has one. Not everybody knows what it is, though. We're going to talk about addiction. There are many different variations, and it stems beyond the stigma of what the mainstream media would define it as. They like to have you think it's something that's usually associated with illegal activities, addictions, heroin, cocaine, about makeup, about beauty products, about video games, about McDonald's, about bodybuilding, the unhealthy kind. What about steroids? There's so many different levels of addiction, and I feel that no matter what level that you come from, everybody has one. Everybody has something. And I think even if it's something that's not a very big deal, somehow inside we know that because we don't have control over ourselves for these substances or activities, that we feel shame to it. And even if these activities are OCD, making sure everything's 100% organized and arranged at all times. This is an addiction. And the other element that I want to get into about addictions is that you can usually use them in a positive manner. You can harness that energy and you can use it as a tool. There's a certain amount of control that it gives you, and it can be your gift and your curse. That this is where the self mastery part comes in. Sometimes there are pieces of ourself that are so tightly inwoven into our psyche, our everyday daily behavior. Sometimes it's not just something that you can wish away. Sometimes things take longer because we hold ourselves back. And so today, my goal and focus is to open up about addictions and in hopes that what I have to say here today can help all of you use your addictions to leverage your life, to better your life, or at least be a tool that you can use for good. First thing that we're going to do, we're going to start with a chakra analysis. This is how I go through my healing process in my head. You take something that is a life situation that's currently bothering you and causing you grief, dismay, um, any amount of physical symptoms, headaches, nothing like hot tea out of a cold mug with a chili penguin on it. Can't see the penguin. Sometimes we have to take a moment to appreciate the little things. in life that keep us grounded and focused, present in the moment. Let's take a moment to do a chakra analysis through addictions. Sometimes we need to understand why what we're addicted to is bad for us. So take whatever it is that is your vice, your forte, and if you feel it's something that takes up an unnecessary amount of time throughout your day, watching TV, Netflix, scrolling screen time, news, media, terror, war, heck, everybody has something. And take a moment to sit in your root chakra and identify three things about your addiction that cause insecurity, that make you feel unsafe, three things that cause so much insecurity. So I'll go through my own chakra analysis on this. So my vice and my backstory is video games. And I find that there's a deeper level of shame in it because it sounds so innocent and because people don't acknowledge it and recognize it for what it is. And it is, I would say, worse than a stigma, even compared to something like drugs where you get really high and by stigma you just stare at the wall and you waste your time, you waste your life away, pursuing this feeling of feeling better is what the media has you believe about it because they then market their antidepressants and their bullshit to you on top of it. But that's getting off topic. It brings me an ample amount of insecurity to admit that I got stuck in a brainwashed loop of time for over 22 years of solid time and memories and experiences lost to something that was too easily justified. And it makes me very sick to think about. So the flip side, doing a chakra analysis like this, is you then take three things that give you security. It gives you a sense of peace, and you know that you're okay. Sometimes it can be something as simple as knowing that you are in a room that is temperature monitored, that you had something to eat today, your basic needs are met, you're not in imminent danger. You can remind yourself that no matter how much shame or fear or guilt that you feel, that likely if you're sitting here with me, you're not in any type of life-threatening situation. Now, I understand that with addictions and actions that don't suit us, they lead to reputation issues. They damage trust. In many cases, lying about time became part of my story. And those are the pieces that need healing. One thing that gives me a great amount of relief and takes that fear off is knowing that by being able to identify it, I am healing the shame of my mistakes. That gives me a grounded sense of peace. It lets me know that I'm on the right track instead of fearing being able to go and evaluate through the emotional process. I go through it with confidence, then knowing that I'm on the right track. And you can feel a positive shift in your mindset when you know you have this. You have found that answer, that peace that can help you fight this addiction. Move up into our sacral chakra. What things about the addiction give us shame? Some things that I already mentioned are our actions, our validity, trust gets broken, time gets wasted. Pretty much every action that we have and that we do in existence takes time. And it is our responsibility as these developed spiritual beings on a world that needs saving to make sure that we are valuing our time to the most important. Something that comes about with addiction and in itself can be an addictive behavior is self-loathing when we get stuck in these dark nights of the soul moments, the moments that the real tools and the real training comes into play, where you really can sit down and journal out how you're feeling about your addiction. You're able to identify how it's causing issues in all the other areas of your life. Yeah, I can go on about the time thing with video games till I'm blue in the face. I can give you so many examples of weeks, months, years that were just lost in trying to solve puzzles, or they specifically and purposefully design it to make you a slave to your system. There is actually a game out there that I heard about the other day called the Time Wasting Simulator. And the person with the top score had over an accumulated year of 365 days of this one thing running on his computer. Yeah, it gets me really passionate about getting this information out there and letting people know that you might have friends and family that are stuck in a fucking abyss of a trap. And, for me, it was video games. The fact is that everybody has something that is a time sucker or a time waster, something that still fuels that negative part of ourselves, something that needs healing. So if I relate in the sacral chakra things about my revelations and my understanding of analyzing the situation, is I am so very happy and grateful that I'm awake from the matrix, that I am able to set goals, achievable goals, and schedule them into my calendar, and know that with a moderate amount of effort and focus, I can actually accomplish and achieve goals and check things off your list in a tangible world, not just a digital list where your character is designed for days on end to just wander around a map, being told to go to the next part of the map and then back and forth. And then in life, what just gets under my skin is that people are being programmed to do this in real life, and they feel that this method of being productive is an actual method of being productive, when in fact you are very much doing the opposite. The other aspect to addictions that are really good to know about is it's the concept through like soap operas. People get really addicted to watching these soap operas, which nowadays are called different, not called soap operas, but still Game of Thrones, Squid Games, these shows that get you and they captivate you, they pull you in, and you might think that you're being productive, but still, you're being programmed to even act like the people on these shows in situations that are designed to be relatable to you. So then they give you this brainwashed narrative of this is how the loser hero he comes or overcomes his odds by blah blah blah. And the thing is, if you look at it through how to apply these situations and these behaviors that are taught to us in Hollywood to real life situations, you find it is just as useless as people who think that they know martial arts just from watching something like a Japanese anime or TV shows, Power Rangers growing up or something. I take the most amount of pleasure understanding that I am awake from this trap, this ensnarement of these little brainwashing devices. And I then shift up into my solar plexus, and I have the motivation to sit here and passionately talk to you about, these digital prisons that we place ourselves in. And we choose to be here because it feels good, and there's bright, pretty colors and really fascinating music, and there's a speaker here, and there's a speaker here, and there's speakers here. For anybody who remembers I think that was the Omnimax Theater. And I see in my life the motivation I had when I went to college and I chose to invest $20,000 of money that was not even mine, gifted to me by my father and my grandfather, to pick a pathway in life that would, now I understand, supposed to make a difference. And at the time, I thought the pathway that looked the most like growing up with an overabundance of TV and Hollywood movies and video games was to go to film college and learn how to make TV and Hollywood movies. And I really back the movies that are based off video games. Surprise. And I still find motivation in that I learned photography. I learned this digital tool, and this is where my addiction turns into a tool for me, is that I went to film college and I was able to use the addiction part of my life that was movies. Because for me, if it wasn't one, it was the other. And then my day was completed. Complete lifetime of brainwashing. Not nearly enough time. I've moved into grief. That was that shift there, and you just watched it happen. This is why I like the chakra analysis. You hit a point that just self perpetuates up and out, and you come to the revelations on your own. That's why I love to teach you guys this stuff. Um, I can use my video editing skills, my photography, my abilities to make film and reels, and however you want to phrase it nowadays, reels, TikToks. It involves a camera and it involves what I'm actually professionally trained in doing, the video editing and the filming itself, plus sound and lighting and stories and the whole shebang. So I do feel that I was put on the right path through that way. I do feel that lucky fortune of being guided. I think that was a straight jump into the ear chakra there. That I have been given the proper skills in this digital age to make a difference, to be able to get this information out to all of you, and to be able to capitalize on the fact that they have algorithms and they have search engine techniques that Ashley has already learned. And we can incorporate everything together of technology to sit here and warn you that these addicting technological pieces of equipment are very damaging. Also, I jumped into grief. Let's stay in the heart chakra here. It grieves me that video games play such a high peak and role in things like 5G and internet. The video gaming world, for anybody who's not familiar with it, has shifted dramatically in the last, I'd say, 10 years to having as many online internet required game narratives as possible. It's no longer the old just straight disc or cartridge that you clip into the machine. Many game features need online access just to run and function, and if your modem is down, you actually can't play some of these games, and then all your stats are uploaded and monitored, and they monitor your morality choices and how you play. Also, they can better market shit to you. And I don't even know about this Facebook metaverse outside of what I've heard is like the movie Ready Player One. And I see that they're getting people amped up for this reality. They're using games, they're using these stories of futuristic societies where we're all half cyborg, half machines, biotech, and we can install enhancements and upgrades. We can update up blasphemy. You can upgrade yourself like an app, or you can just unlock yourself like unlocking skills in video games. And then, we see that Elon Musk wants to put these same computer chips that are mentioned specifically in a video game called Deus Ex. And the whole conspiracy behind that I don't even want to get into because that was part of the trap. You get lumped into the conspiracy and they do it because you see it and you realize it's real, and then you realize, well, they're just setting you in a position where if you try to make it sound real, it's in a video game, so you're crazy. There's that mental aspect of it too. Dramatic. High five there. Anybody remember 3D movies? Now I'm just being nostalgic. I've switched from the grief to the love. What I love is being able to sit here and tell you guys out of a lifetime and lifestyle of research and information that I know someone somewhere is going to be affected by, and that someone's going to be able to wake up and see it for what it is, and they're going to be able to do research into their own goals beyond what we're programmed to think. And here's the other Hollywood trap, video game trap too. You're going to medical school. You just signed up. You've decided you're gonna be a nurse. So how do you do it? How do you train? Well, you go to Netflix and you watch Grey's Anatomy, right? Because you're gonna start to run and program yourself a specific way to be fed by the information that you want to retain, which is 100% natural. We go into sponge mode. We want to soak up all the information about whatever it is that we've set out to learn. As a human species, that's the only thing we're actually here for, is to look at what other people do and copy it. Make sure we survive while we do it. I love that when I was awake to the Matrix and when I was having some of these more serious conversations with Ashley about recovering myself through this and realizing that everything that I'd ever learned and known was actually fake to an extent, or at least you see how it's owned by these dominating forces that are in bed with the worst things imaginable that are going on in society. And you see how if they own it, if they own something like Disney, and Disney's movie has a great message that they really want you to know, and it's programmed to make you all tearful and heart cheery and whatnot. Take a pause and remember who's feeding you that shit. Is it actually for your good? Is it for your benefit? The answer is no, not always. I'm pretty sure in some Italian language that means fuck you. We're in the throat chakra now. Not very good at sign language. The truth. During a self-assessed chakra analysis, this would be where you write down and you start to record everything that you have written down about the revelations and what you've realized and your thoughts and journaling. memories of this experience in passing since you started with what you're fearful of, your insecurities around your addiction, and what you've noted through the chakras. This is where you can see the truth. This is where you know and can assess what elements are coming from ego, what elements are coming from your being guided to recovery through this process. The truth chakra, through a chakra analysis at this point, is where you then make the affirmations. You start to write down tangible things that you can say back to yourself as self-talk that will aid your recovering from this addiction. So affirmations that I have around video games is that I'm so happy and grateful that I'm spending my time wisely, that I'm spending my time learning skills from real people, real masters throughout history, through books, to learn and accomplish the goals that I set out to achieve. I am so happy and grateful that I see I am now making progress and I am living very much the life that I have always wanted. Lesser a few things, and I see the process. I see the progress. And it is just a beautiful actualization when I do sit to question how I am spending time, or if I do sit with the kids and, they want to play video games. This, in truth, being the true chakra, becomes a touchy issue for me because I feel the caution, and I do give them the best positive experience that I can by relating anything relevant in the game to them that they can use as a tool. For example of this, Finn got really, really big into Spider-Man and the Spider-Man video games. He loves the different outfits. He loves the different armors, the suits, the skins that you can switch up. And this gave me a really beautiful opportunity to open up with him and express the mentality concept behind, you dress for success. You put on a new suit and it is that upgraded version of you. You dress how you feel and you end up feeling how you're dressed. It's one more extension of the throat chakra and words of affirmation. Our physical appearance and our behavior is very much dictated by our wardrobe. And one thing in culture that will never ever go down, no matter how ridiculous we know it can be, is fashion. Because people will always need some type of exterior expression or protection. And, from here, you can even teach that the different colors have different meanings and emotions, again, relating to the chakras to them. And then when they want to grow up and they want to choose how they dress, they can go at it from a very young age, knowing how to go about life, feeling confident. And so, in truth, I feel that this one element that was exposed to them through a video game was able to be used as a tool. So there is very much positivity to it, and having the experience of being to analyze things like movies and video games from a very different point of view than somebody who's pro or con. Because I do see, and maybe this is the addiction talking, as you watch me zone out and get all into being positive about it. they do come to you with these morality simulators. It does give you a sense of empathy. It gives you a sense of imagination, creativity, of being able to incorporate tools that in the story the characters use to get through their peril. And this is the same concept that any story in history is created from, the hero's journey. All stories have something to say and something to teach you. And in many ways, I feel that movies and video games, if chosen the right content and applied practically to real life situations through proper guidance, can be a very great self development tool. And that may be my addiction talking, trying to defend it. I was in this shit from really, really, really young age with no adult supervision. I was literally raised by these things from birth. And what terrifies me, go further into the truth here, 5:30, halfway through, is I look at the world and I see the trends on YouTube. And I see that all the kids are watching all these grown adults, 20, 30, 40 years old plus, and their lives are dedicated to playing video games and then having people watch them play video games. That is a very 5-year-old mentality. Hey, everybody watch me play. And YouTube normalizes this. And it teaches the kids growing up that this is what you can aspire to, a grown child who is not fucking grown up. My shame around my life situation is I know that I was one of those people. I am very grateful that I am awake and I am aware. I'm very surprised I have not thrown my game system into a snowbank. I do feel that, like anything, usually it can be used as a tool. These are the things with addictions. It's that unhealthy push-pull relationship that you just love to hate. And it's when you hit that point, your third eye opens and you see your life before and you see your life now and where it can go and all the different pathways that you can take because you're awake and you now have time. You have so much more time. To give you an example, I remember one of the games back in the day that's still going very strong today in popularity called Skyrim. And they were advertising, oh yeah, there's over 80 hours of gameplay. Yeah, and that's a short game to nowadays standards. The most ridiculous fucking thing I've seen, honestly, is the Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I say this because when I was curious as to if this is something worth spending 80 plus dollars on, almost $100 for a story that you want to find out what happened, there was over 48 hours of cutscenes of literal, actual, watchable movie that was no gameplay. And so to let it run in the background, it took like 3 days. just to find out and watch this thing like a TV series. And I'm finding that, yeah, it just pushes what the human body can physically ingest in information. And that's just one source of information that one person would have going on in their day. And then they're going to have whatever's going on with any TV shows that they are watching. They're going to have whatever drama's going on with the media. They're going to have whatever Trudeau's doing and whatever Putin's doing. And all this information that at the end of the day doesn't fucking do anything for you but take up space in your head. Maddening. I have a headache thinking about it, literally. That's why I'm here and that's why I'm talking about it. Because I'm really, 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 really hoping that someone is going to see this and be like, I never thought of it that way. I see it so clearly now that you mention it. Because it's one of those letters on the mantle. For anybody who knows that saying, the best way to hide a letter is to stick it front and center on the mantelpiece where everybody can see it and then it's just overlooked. And, like, once you know these things are there, you can't go back. I'm not trying to say specifically that there is anything malicious specifically about it, but these things exist and they're very unhealthy. You know, being in the third eye right now, I see it's my responsibility to tell you guys some of the horror stories that I've heard about video game addiction, since that was my addiction, my struggles. And, you know, as somebody who is in a good position to help coach other people out of their addiction, it's fair to mention that people have died from video games. People have gone into these 3 week and month long competitions as to who can online play the longest for charity, and people have literally dehydrated and died or starved to death at their computer because I've heard they forgot to eat, they forgot to sleep. One case that I studied in particular, he lived off of Mr. Noodles for a month and he died of malnourishment. Like, that conversation goes both ways because it does say a lot about Mr. Noodle. However, I also know many people who have lived off Mr. Noodle for a month and they haven't actually died. It just goes to show you that the quality of life that we give ourselves while we're plugged in to these machines. And we all think that it would be so cool to go into the Matrix where it's like actual reality. But the fact is, nobody's energetic enough to actually walk around in a big simulator that would be like real life. People get fitness problems from sitting too long. People like have trouble controlling their body temperature because they're still. Their muscles get stiff. There was one case in particular made a lot of headlines in the States. Mom took Halo 3, I think specifically, don't quote me on that one, away from her teenage son and locked it in the gun cabinet. Maybe you see where this is going. And he wanted it back so bad, he found a way to get the gun cabinet open, and he was so angry that his mommy took his game away, he loaded a gun and fucking killed her. And there's something to these frigging things, the subliminal messaging, the frequency it flickers at, something that makes it very hard to walk away. And the people who are in it for an addiction, when you get to that point of you're very frustrated that you just spent 3 hours doing something and you failed. So now instead of having an accomplishment, you know, if you're like me and kind of really slow at baking and making food, after 3 hours you might have some muffins. You know, and at the end of the day, you can actually have some really good muffins. But if you just spent 3 hours on a boss fight and you have to start the boss fight over again, and this is your seventh time doing it this week, you get to a point where you realize, I'm a fucking loser. Not saying that people who get into these situations are losers as human beings or a precious soul, but you are losing your time, you are losing your power to a kid's game. It doesn't matter if it's an adult only game, that's even worse. Because then it makes you feel even privileged, and then you're excited to grow up because you can play the big games. Kill people. Fallout, the way the heads explode was like a monumental feature of digital graphics or something. You know, it's funny to think back when people talk about the hypnotic spiral, the black and white one that just goes on forever and it looks like this beautiful pinwheel. And they make fun of people in cartoons and in movies. Here we go again. The only thing that we really have to reference real life to is fake, because that's a great feature in society we all like. Um, they show people that just look into the spiral and just get lost in beauty and amaze. And the thing is, we're so lost and amazed that we don't know it. And then we defend it like a friggin' alcoholic. People tell you it's time to be cut off, time to go to bed, time to sleep. Any gamer watching, I guarantee, has been up all night and not slept, pulled numerous all-nighters to finish a game story because they're so addicting. You've probably done the same thing I did, is overheat your computer for being on for so many hours at a time that it crashes every friggin' 20 minutes. And you're physically damaging the hardware because you're running it into the ground. I've never done crack or cocaine, but I swear to God, these video games are fucking worse. Because once they have you, and you don't even know. It's scary as shit. We get to the crown chakra at the end of our chakra analysis here. You have to release it, and you have to accept that people who are ready to take their control back, the people who are ready to heal from the addiction, anything that you're doing that you could be doing something better. Take a moment to pause and go through a chakra analysis yourself. See what inside you, what actions you're doing, what I ams are you that you don't want. You can release them. It's frustrating to think how big it is. And I remember being a little kid thinking how cool it would be to have like a TV in every room of the house. And now every room in the house has a person with a TV in their pocket. Then, there's just the casual concept. Well, what if we put it in their brain? Little display unit. A Dragon Ball Z sensor on your face. You can see the internet in your face all the time. Let's do that. That sounds fun. The thing is, people pay for it. There is a group of people out there who consider themselves to be technology. They're not, yeah, how people want to be one with nature. They feel that they are one with technology and they're getting themselves microchipped. You can buy microchipping kits online so you can use the RFID chip embedded into the muscle in the palm of your hand to just wave your bank card, which is now your hand. And then it gets into the whole digital ID bullshit, and you see how the programming of technology comes to a head at what's happening on a political level. And it just makes you think, is this ideal? Is this something that should be done? Forgive all my references. This is Jurassic Park. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should be doing it. Let's take a moment. Release any epiphanies, any revelations, actualizations, realizations, anything that has come to you through sitting with me for the chakra analysis and thinking about your addictions and how it affects your chakras, and figure out what you need to make plans to change. And that's going to be how you release out through the ground. Right now, I'm going to do some Reiki and some healing and send out some beautiful love and vibration. So if you are struggling with an addiction, you're looking for help, being able to control your time, your actions, and how much of your energy, how much of your mental well being and finances are invested into this one area of your life that you're seeking to change, this is something that we can help you with. If you know somebody who's going through that, please, by all means, send them the link to this video, toss them Ashley's number. You can go to the website, you can send us an email, Tristan at elementalgrowth.org, Ashley at elementalgrowth.org. And if you're someone who has worked with us in the past and you find what we offer has helped, by all means, give us a testimony and let us know how it's changed your life, how you've been able to incorporate our solutions into your life, and tell us about the success that you've had. Being able to sit here and know how many months sober I am from getting caught into this hourglass snare of wasted time. Scary to think about, but I do sit here knowing that every morning I wake up and I'm able to attend to my emotional state. Then I'm able to attend to my physical state. And then I'm able to attend to my family state of having it in my routine to make breakfast, to make sure that everybody's fed and nourished. And then I'm at a point when I feel nourished and whole to start knocking off things in life that really make life worth living. Jumping right into a good book at 8 o'clock, making sure that I'm preparing for lunch at 11, making sure that all the food's cooked, all the kitchen is done, paperwork by then is out of the way, everything is just scheduled, and the things that you need to get done to be successful flow and streamlined. Point where you get to the afternoon and you actually might feel a little bored because you've accomplished your goals and you have some spare time on your hands, and it's wonderful. And being able to think back and know where my time used to go versus how my time is now is something that I am just happy to share with all of you, as well as the techniques as to how to do it and how you can utilize your time and your emotional state to get the most out of your day. Give us a shout. Let us know how we can help you. I will see you all next week. Thanks for joining.